talking with some patients today regarding my approach and my perspective with regards to healing and the body and what I know to be true. And what came up was just this understanding of when you start from a false premise, everything following that, every question asked, every answer to the questions asked, every action with regard to that as your anchor is going to be different, and it's not necessarily going to be true, even though it can be correct. And what I mean by that is when you look at the body and your premise is that it is flawed, it is dangerous, it can't be trusted, and that you need something external to be okay, then any question, any investigation that you go into with regards to a symptom is going to be under that umbrella. And so then your investigation has a limitation. And then the answers to your questions, even though they're correct, so say somebody asks, does this body have cancer? And that is the extent of their questions. And the answer to that question can be yes, based on what we have named and quantified to be cancer. And then their questioning stops. And when we put this in a different container with a different premise, so the body is always perfect, no matter what. Does this body have what we call cancer? Yes. And instead of stopping there, was it incorrect on the other side? No. Did they lie? No. Is there more? Absolutely. So then a follow-up question would be, if a perfect body is presenting in this way that we call cancer, why? What might be informing the tissues? What might be accumulating in the tissues? What might not be available to be utilized in a certain physiological process within the body? These are better questions. When we ask better questions, we get better answers. And when we ask questions that are not based off of a flawed premise, we get more true answers. And when you take deliberate, consistent, intentional action in the direction of what is true, not what is right or correct based on, which could change based on the question, the perspective, then you get massive results. So then people come to me all the time and say, okay, so the body's perfect, so I don't have to do anything. No, the body is perfect. And if you are not experiencing what you believe to be perfect health, a perfect expression of health, then you have to change everything. And that's the point. It's not that you passively sit and just hope that things change. It is that you are an active participant in your reality. You are an active participant in the expression of your health and well-being. And it is not just the doing, it is everything else that you do, think, perceive, experience that informs your physical body. And for things to change, you have to change, and you have to change everything. And so this has come up so much today, just this idea of if your foundation is not true, even if it is correct based on what you think you know at that time, if it is not true, you will not see the results that you associate with what you think is right. And that's why everyone gets confused, because you can have a question that has nothing to do with truth, and you can answer that question with a right answer, and then it still has no impact on the body because the body is just true. It doesn't care if you're right, wrong, well studied, well researched, if some scholar supports something. It is true. It is part of this natural world, this metaphysical background that you are swimming in. And what is true is true is true. And we as humans with human intellect are doing the best we can to understand what the body already knows, is using, and has been doing since the beginning of time. If it didn't work, we wouldn't be here. And we also have to think that an intelligent species doesn't study something that is not more advanced than it. So if you are trying to learn something, you don't go to somebody who knows less than you to learn something. So why are we studying the human body? Because it doesn't know and we need to learn something to help inform it? Or it is perfect, it knows everything, it is actually using these things, and we are getting in the way with these false premises on what we think we know. And so we really have to step back and just get really simple with some of these things. Everyone gets into the nuances of what's right, wrong, proven, not proven. It's just dizzy. Everyone's just so dizzy. And so I wanted to come and just offer another perspective that you may be doing the right thing according to a false premise, which is why you haven't changed. It doesn't mean you're flawed. It doesn't mean your body doesn't work. It doesn't mean that you can't heal or you're not healing. You're healing in every single second of every single day, that without fail. And so if we could soften to this, if we could really wash out our intellect, it would change everything. Because even to the degree that this impacts health and well-being, this impacts your day-to-day life, your relationships, how you engage with other people, the judgments you have about other people in your world. Is it true? Probably not. And what if we started responding to reality as it was instead of how we think it is, how we've been told it should be, or what our knee-jerk reaction to a scenario is because 10 years ago, we had something that made us feel a certain way, and so now we have a law that is written into our psychology on how we perceive and experience our world. So there's so much more to being human than just something that needs to be fixed. And so when I come and say that your body is perfect and that there is nothing missing, nothing broken in you, there is no flaw in any human. If you are here, you are perfect and you have all that you need, no matter what the expression of that is. We think we know, but we have no idea. And I promise, if you're here, if you have the availability to have access to a phone, to a social media platform, to be able to understand language in any capacity, there's so much more to you. There's so much more available to you, but you are getting in your own way. And even if you have a knee-jerk reaction to me, and get defensive when I say that you're perfect, that is nothing that I can go and change. It is something that you have to change. And that's what I mean when I say you have to change, because if you believe to your core, based on what you have been indoctrinated with and programmed with, that you are flawed, there is no amount of medicine that can go touch that. A life experience, a changing of your mind, your beliefs, your perceptions have to change. And this is what I'm talking about when I say these things. You are perfect. There's nothing missing, nothing broken, nothing flawed in you. If you're expressing or experiencing symptoms, your body is asking you to pay attention, to listen, and to make changes in accordance to what is true, what is real, what is alive. And that's the difference. Where you start changes where you go. And it is massively, massively impactful. And it's so important. If you start on a wrong premise, it takes a lot longer to get to a truth than if you start from a premise that is in favor of what it is to be alive and a physical being in this time and in this space and on this physical plane. So if you have symptoms, you need to change everything, with the understanding that you are perfect.